YouTube, what's going on? It's been a minute, hasn't it? It's my fault. I don't camp in the summer, so I know the channel has kind of gone stale, but there's something I always do towards the middle to end of summer, and that's preparation for this season when it comes to camping. Now, if you're new to the channel or just dialing in for the first time, I primarily just do winter camping. I live here in the South, in Texas. We got nasty bugs, and it gets really hot in the summertime. Almost unbearable at times, where to me personally, it takes the fun out of camping. Trying to stay cool, trying to stay hydrated, sometimes it's just not worth it. And I don't want to go deal with, everything's bigger in Texas, including the bugs, trust me, okay? When you have high warm days, high pressure days, and those bugs are out and about, those hot nights aren't fun. So primarily, I stick to winter camping. Now, that doesn't mean the summer goes without use. I enjoy my summer very much, just in different ways. But one of the things I like to do towards the middle and end of summer, like in this video here, is start using your August and September to prepare for what I like to call camping season, which is early fall all the way to spring. The only time I really don't like camping is in the summer, or given the temperature, when it's too hot, or I would say roughly out of the spring as it starts to warm up. Use your August. So what I mean by use your August is the month for me where I'm going to pull all my camping stuff down. I'm going to go through it and I'm going to evaluate my kits. Okay? I'm going to look at the type of usage I did the previous season before, what I need to replenish. So it's evaluating everything. What was worth spending on? What was not? Did something break? Do I need to repurchase it? Do I like this certain kind of style item? I want to buy more of it. This worked for me here. This worked for me not here. Items in which I thought were best investments, in which I'd like to give recommendations to, compared to items that I probably could have passed on and still been okay. September rolls around. Now you start dialing in your kits, plural, because use the data you have. What type of camping do you do? You do a lot of backpacking? You do a lot of through hiking? Do you do a lot of RV camping? Do you do a lot of car camping? Are you an overlander? Use the data you have to determine what type of kits you want to build. For me, on a traditional basis during camping season, I do 3 styles of camping. I do what I like to call car camping, which is basically a campsite where I have access to my car. The second style of camping is what I like to consider a hike in, hike out. Not necessarily a backpack and not necessarily a through hike. To me, backpacking is what it is. You're surviving with whatever load you can carry on your backpack. Through hiking to me is you start in A and you end up in B. And in between that, you might have 2 or 3 nights, 4 nights, 5 nights, a week's long stay. And then I like to do, like I said, walk in, walk out, or hike in, hike out, where I'm gonna park my car and I'm gonna hike in however distance, and I'll hike out the next morning. So that's kit number 2. And then kit number 3 I always have on deck is a traditional backpacking kit. Now your backpacking kit can also be used for through hiking. It's just when you through hike, you probably need to plan a little more and have a full agenda. So that's what I like to use September for. August is my reset month. I start to go through my gear. Again, find out what worked, what didn't, what I'm gonna set myself up for this season. I might buy new items in August to prep for winter season. Then when September comes, I like to build the kits, lay them out in front of me, air out the old gear, unlock the gear, get familiar with it, use it. That way when October comes, and why October? Because here in Texas, it's always a gamble. Yes, it's a little warmer. 2 seasons ago, October of 2023, we had a warm October. I recall those nights still being in the 80s. It was very nasty. Compared to last year, by mid-October, we were already down in the 60s. And I kind of missed out on some weekends because technically I probably could have started camping season earlier. But the last 2 seasons for me, I've started after my group and I have went to our kindred camping, and we kind of opened the season from there in November. So it's kind of a late start. So October is always that winger month. It's that month where you're like, is it going to be hot at night or is it going to be cold? But as soon as those cool breezes start coming in, that's when you know you grab your stuff and you hit the outdoors. You're still going to experience wildlife and insects and stuff like that, but trust me, it's not going to be Texas in July, okay? So now that we talked about that, I kind of want to do go over some items with you from last season, some big winners and some not so big winners. That way, if you're building your kit, you can kind of put together things that you want to do. So I'll go off and on here. One of the better items I invested in last year is a military bivvy. This is a Gore-Tex bivvy sack. It unfolds and it zips down the middle. You can crawl in it and then zip it up, and it's like a sleeping bag, but it's not necessarily comfortable. So you have to put a sleeping bag inside the bivvy. This came in handy so much. The only downfall of this is even when it got down to 20 degrees last winter, I woke up with condensation inside this bivvy. Now, it ain't the end of the world. Turn it inside out, let it dry out, problem solved, right? But that's something to be warned of. And I bought this particularly because it's supposed to trap in heat, so I stayed warmer longer, which did help. On top of, when I did my tarp camping, I didn't want to sleep completely vulnerable to the bugs, so I called them a bivvy. And it worked out fine. So this was one of the better investments. I think I got this on Amazon for like 109 bucks. So well worth it. This is something, again, I'm going to use this season, and this is something I would recommend to anyone who's looking to build a winterized kit. One of the things that I purchased that I probably could have done away with is a couple of tents, actually. One Tigers. I love this brand. Portable, and it gets the job done. But last season, I ended up buying the One Tigris Mona, which is what I would consider a true hiking tent. It's very small, compact, one person sleep. The only issue I have with this tent is 99.9% of the time I'm not alone. I have one, if not two dogs, and this season, hopefully 3 dogs with me. So this tent is gonna be obsolete unless I go backpacking by myself, which even if I went by myself, I'm not going to be by myself. I'm going to have one of the dogs with me. And this thing is so tiny that it ends up kind of just falling off of, I shouldn't have bought this tent. It wasn't expensive. I believe it was like $120 or something like that. But this was one thing that I bought last season that I used like twice and then never used again because of how tiny it was. So that's not a good piece of kit. Second piece of kit will be this tent. You know what this is. This is my hot stove tent, my winterized tent. This I bought late in the season last season. As a matter of fact, Heathen Outdoors volume like 6, I think was the first time I used this. And then in volume 7 or maybe 8, I used it with the stove. And let me tell you something, game changer, okay? I would love to have purchased this earlier in the season to get more usage out of it. But I think I've only used it the 2 times, and then by that time the season was kind of over for me. But nonetheless, this was a great investment. I think it was like 160 bucks. The stove itself was like $107, so the kit together. But even this tent can be used just as a traditional tent too, so you don't need the hot stove, but highly recommend the hot stove. This was a good purchase for me, especially because I do winter camping. Compared to the Tetra, the One Tigris Tetra, I wanted to love this tent. And technically I do. The problem with this tent is it takes forever to build. It takes forever. The base, the wings, the doors. Don't get me wrong, it has the options. And that's what makes it so worth getting, is all the options you can do with this tent. But if you're on trail, you're gonna be tired at the end of the day. You're not gonna wanna spend all that time trying to put this tent up. And it's traditionally a TIG, or a tent that you're gonna TIG in the ground with a peg. And therefore, like, you have to be selective about where you put your tent. You got to make sure the ground's soft enough or has big boulders if you're going to be on rock to ensure those pegs are going to stay still. And to me, it's one of those that I love the idea of it. I love the color. I loved everything about this tent except for I dreaded putting it up. When it came out of the car, I just looked at it and said, "Ah." So this probably wasn't the best investment. This was one of the best investments, and these are what I call little down booties. These are little things that you slip over your feet right before you crawl into bed at night, because the last 2 seasons, camping in 20-degree weather, the one thing that I ran into was cold feet in the middle of the night. This changed the whole game. Put some socks on, regular socks, but not the socks you wore that day, because likely you hiked in them or you've been in them, minor sweat in them, and so at nighttime they're going to be damp and you don't want that. Dry socks, put your feet in some down booties, get into a nice snuggy sleeping bag or blanket, you're gonna be good to go. Big time investment here, big time. Another big time investment would be the sleeping bag itself. Season of 2023, I survived with wool blankets. They did the job, and I will still use my wool blankets. But because I like to be like a burrito, it was hard for me to do that with the wool blankets, okay? Especially because I shared my tent with the dogs. So last season, I invested in a better sleeping bag. I got the REI, I forgot what this is called, the Trailmade 20 degree. It's rated for 20 degrees survival, and I'm gonna call it anywhere between 20 and 30 for comfort. And let me tell you this, put this inside of the bivy sack, you can drop it down to 10 degrees and you're gonna be good to go. You're gonna be good to go. So another big investment for me last season was the sleeping bag. And to be honest with you, I think this was the winner for last season. This was the game changer alone. Even though these played a part in it, this alone was the game changer. Winter camping wasn't intimidating like it was in 2023. When in 2023, when we were all going to bed, I'm thinking to myself, am I gonna survive the night or am I gonna wake up dead? You know? This here changed the game. So this is something I would definitely say, like before you even think about tents, before you think about bivvies and all that stuff, get yourself a good sleeping bag. The last item, of course, I'm not gonna drag and fold it, but the camp stove. This kind of goes hand in hand with the tent here. But again, I got this late in the season. I only used it the one time. It's in a video. You guys can backtrack if you want. And it was probably one of the best times. The only downfall to that was it did die out. So in the middle of the night, after a couple of hours, you woke up, it was pretty cold. It got so hot, you would kick the blankets off of you. And then as the fire died out and the temperature drops in the tent, you wake up freezing. So you're covering yourself up with a blanket, and you're over here trying to get the fire going and shit. So, but overall, a really fun experience. Highly recommend it, and I'm looking forward to using both these in a combo every time I go camping this season. You guys, this is all I got for you now. If we could hold on for another 2 more months, maybe I'll do some gear videos and I'll show you guys what I'm gonna invest in this year next time, or this season coming up. But for now, the do's and don'ts and how you use your August and September to prepare for winter camping. Y'all stay heathen.